In this video, we are going to take a look at how we can add rebar to reinforce structural elements in an Autodesk Revit project. Here in my structural project, I already have several concrete objects, and I'm going to add some rebar to reinforce those. I'll start by going to my wall section, and the first thing that I want to do is to add some rebar in between the footing and the wall to support that connection. I will move to my Structure tab, then select Rebar. I will get a little message here about end treatments. I will just click OK for now to move on. And then I will choose a type of rebar. So each of these numbers represents a different size. We're going to go with a number 4 here. Then I will select the shape that I want. So I'm going to scroll down and select 17A to create an L-shaped rebar that's going to go between those two members. Next, I'm going to take a look at my options up top here. Expand to host means it's going to fill that footing. I want to use the current work plane, and I want to draw it parallel to my work plane. I also want to make sure for now that I'm only placing a single version of this rebar. As I come in here to my footing, you can see it expand to fit the footing. I can also tap the space bar to rotate or flip it as needed. I'll go ahead and click to place it here, then press Escape. As I said, I want to use this to reinforce the connection here, so I'm going to select the rebar and use the grips to drag it over and into the foundation wall. I can also use specific values. So if I take a look at the properties here, if, for example, I knew that the vertical member needed to be 3 feet, I could certainly enter that value in. Next, I want to place some rebar along the length of the footing to strengthen it. I'm going to start my rebar tool again, and once again accept number 4. I'm going to scroll back up and select 0, 0 for my shape. And you can see that currently it's running side to side here in this view. I actually want to see the circular cross sections so that I know that it's running into the footing. Therefore, in my ribbon here, I'm going to select perpendicular to cover. Now you can see I'm seeing the cross section of that member. Instead of placing a single one, I have some other options here. If I know the spacing between each one, I can select those options. Or if I know how many I want, I can select that option. In this case, I'm going to want 3 of them. Revit will then space those evenly to get them to fit. I'm going to go ahead and place this at the bottom of the allowable area here, and then I'll press Escape. Obviously, I'm going to have a little bit of an interference here, so I'm going to select the previously created L-shape rebar and use my sizing handles to drag that up above the others. Next, I'm going to add one more piece of reinforcing into the footing, so I will start my rebar tool again. Then I will scroll down to choose Shape 17. I want to adjust this to go back to being parallel to my work plane, not perpendicular, so I'll choose that option. Currently, it's set to create a fixed number of 3. What I would like it to do instead is to create one every 10 inches along the length of this footing. So I will change my layout to maximum spacing and enter in my spacing of 10 inches. Currently it's set to expand to fit the host. Instead, I just want to draw the shape. So I'm going to select by 2 points as my placement method. I'm going to click the lower left corner of this allowable area. Then I will click an upper right corner to place it. Then I'll press Escape. Then I want to just move this around a little bit. I am going to drag these members out to the side. And then I'm going to drag it down below the other ones until it looks like so. Next, I want to create multiples of the L-shaped member here. So currently I only have a single, so I can easily go back and change this at any point in time. I'm going to set this one to maximum spacing of 1 foot. Next, I want to create a member to go between the foundation wall and the slab to reinforce that connection. I will begin with my rebar tool once more, and as I scroll through the different shapes here, none of them are exactly what I want, so I'm going to sketch my own this time. I'm going to select the sketch option. The status bar tells me to pick a host for the rebar, so technically it's going to go through the floor and the wall. I want to select the wall as my host, that way as I array it, it will array along the length of the wall. So I'll select my wall. Now I can see my drawing area, and I will just simply click a few points to create a rebar that looks like this. Now I could, of course, adjust my dimensions to make this specific values, but I'm going to go ahead and accept it as it is and click Finish. As you can see, it created a new shape in my browser over here. And then I can adjust the spacing of this one. I'm going to set this one to maximum spacing of 1 foot to match the L-shaped one on the bottom. While this is a good cross section that I can detail, I also want to see my rebar in 3D to get a feel for how it looks as it's copied along the length of the wall. So I'm going to move to my default 3D view, and I'm going to adjust this 3D view to match up with the section view. I'm going to come to my view cube and right click on the home button. I am then going to select Orient to View, Sections, and then Typical Foundation Wall Section. And as you can see, the section box is used to crop it to just that area. I can, of course, use the section box to show more of the foundation wall if I want. I'm going to rename this 3D view. Currently it's the default 3D view. I will right click on it and choose Rename. And I will call this one 3D Foundation. In case you're wondering what happens to the default 3D view, I can get another one very easily just by coming up to the Quick Access toolbar, selecting Default 3D View, and you can see a new one has been created. Of course, to match the earlier one, I would need to adjust my view template to show the structural concrete, but for now, we'll just focus on our 3D foundation view. The rebar actually exists in here. If I go to wireframe, I can see it inside the wall. What I would like to do is to change my view settings so that it appears through the concrete. To do that, I'll go ahead and select everything on screen here and then use my filter to filter to just structural rebar. Then I will click OK. Then in my properties, I will scroll down to View Visibility States and click Edit. Then for the 3D Foundation 3D view, I would like for these items to be unobscured and appear as though they are solid. Then I will click OK. Now I can see those items, but to make it a little more clear, I'm going to set my detail to Fine. Now if I zoom in, I can actually see the thickness of those members. I'm going to go ahead and change my shading to consistent colors as well to make that a little more easy to view. So now we can see these members that were going lengthwise along the footing, and then these members that were every 10 inches, and then the other two sets that were every 12 inches. Finally, I'm going to go back and add some hooks to the top of these L-shaped members. So I will return to my wall section here and select my L-shaped member. Then I'm going to change a couple of properties here. As you can see, hook at start is set to none. I'm going to set that to a standard 90 degrees. You can see the hook is created, however, it's too long, it's sticking out of the wall. So I'm going to override the hook length with this checkbox here. Then as I scroll down, the A value becomes available. So I can adjust this to 4 inches so that it fits nicely in the wall. Of course, remember this was a set of several of them, so that change affected all of them, which we can see once again here in the 3D view. That concludes this look at adding rebar to a structural project in Autodesk Revit.